Hi, I'm Joss Milner. I'm co-founder of Cashflow Story. I'm here today to talk to Alan Miltz, my co-founder, about Cashflow Story business. Alan, why don't you tell us how you got to be involved with Cashflow Story?
Josh, we've been doing this now for about 30 years. Our passion in life has been to help business. So over the past 30 years, we've developed analysis techniques that are used in over 30 countries by 500 plus leading global banks, many thousands of companies and accounting firms. And our whole passion in life is to take the numbers and ensure that everyone understands the business in a consistent way.
Alan, let's start with the why. Why did you embark on this journey with me?
Joss, we've always had a passion for numbers. And we realized wherever we went, people interpreted a business in multiple ways. And it was the most amazing thing. You would sit in a board meeting, and we board members of many companies, and people would go around the room and interpret your profitability in a consistent way. And then we realized whenever the concept of cash flow came up, the same organization would have multiple interpretations about the business. And our concept was simple. Cash flow is a fact. How can one business interpret the fact of the business in many different ways? So what we said is, let's develop a process whereby everyone sitting around the management table would look at your business the same way. Now compare this to a sporting event. If you're watching a game of sport and there's no scoreboard, you're not going to last too long. It's going to be quite boring. Your business is no different. The scoreboard of your company is your cash flow. Everyone needs to read the score in the same way. So what we realized is that people impacting your business are non-financial people. We've got to make the numbers simple, that every person in that management table will look at your company in a consistent way. So we decided to compare the business over 4 chapters. Simple. Chapter 1 is your profit, your revenue, your margins, your overheads, your profitability. We got very good understanding of that. Equally important to your profit is your working capital management. And what does working capital mean? How quickly people pay you, your receivables, how much inventory you hold, or in a service company, we call it work in progress, work you've done but not yet billed, and how quickly or slowly you pay your suppliers. And chapter 2 is equally important to chapter 1. If you don't respect your working capital, you might be profitable, but you might have a cash flow problem. Some companies have got a chapter 3, the rest of your balance sheet, your fixed assets, your investments, etc., etc. The result of your business is your cash flow. So if you want to understand cash, you need to understand the 4 chapters. And Cash Flow Story, in the most simple way, demonstrates what each chapter looks like, and it's color-coded to show you what's performing well and what's performing badly. Now, after many years of doing this, we created the 4 chapters. We had all these wonderful, simple methods to look at a business. And a few years ago, we realized that how do you fix your company? And we've come up with a concept that I believe will become the code of a company. And we've called it the power of 1. Every company has got 7 levers that they can change to impact the score of your company being your cash flow. And those 7 levers are price, volume, cost of goods, overheads, receivables, inventory, and payables. So as a leader, as a management team, what you should be asking yourself is, what do we want the business to look like, and how many power of 1 changes do you need to make? And Josh, I would get every day of my life an email from someone in a company I've never met who sends me a power of 1 story, how it's turned around their business. Every company wants to achieve three things: improve profit, improve cash, and uplift your valuation. The power of one is the code of your company that will deliver this message. It's absolutely critical, and we are passionate about this concept that every business should be implementing the power of one. And one of the most successful authors in strategy, Vern Harnish, who wrote Rockefeller Habits, when he saw our process in his latest book, Scaling Up, asked us to co-author the cash component or the financial component of the book. And Cash Flow Story, The Power of One, is now a chapter in the world's best-selling business book called Scaling Up.
So, Alan, what's the first thing a company should do if they sign up for Cash Flow Story?
Well, Josh, again, Cash Flow Story is about one concept called simplicity. So step one, take your historical numbers and enter 3 to 4 years of history. Now, it sounds like a lot of work, but Cash Flow Story requires about 15 numbers per period, and there's no thinking to do. All you're doing is you're copying numbers from your financial statements and you're entering it into the software. What this will then give you is a very clear understanding of what your business looks like. And remember, and repetition, you've got to teach the non-financial people what's going on. The results that I'm getting by educating non-financial people, they're making better decisions. So by entering your historical numbers, everyone around your table will understand the trends over the past few years about Chapter 1 profit, Chapter 2 working capital, Chapter 3 other capital, resulting in Chapter 4 your funding as measured by your cash flow.
So now a business understands its story, they understand all of that. What should they be doing next?
Every 3 months, do a cash flow story review of your company. Do a 4-chapter review and go around your management table and have a power of one discussion. Every 3 months on every board that I sit on, I make sure through repetition, we're looking at the 4 chapters every 3 months, and then we're asking the management team, what changes can we make in these 7 levers to uplift profit, cash, and hence valuation? So the answer is every 3 months, Cash Flow Story will produce an automated report.
So what if we meet monthly? Should at the other board meetings, should we not discuss our numbers, or what's your recommendation on that?
Well, in most cases, people do have a quarterly cycle. So I'm recommending quarterly is a must, but if you want to have a monthly review, do a year to date. So if we 8 months year to date, compare your previous 3 years to how we're going 8 months year to date. So absolutely no problem at all. Do a year to date, but make sure, as I've said, do a 3-month quarterly review of your business and make sure the people around your table start to understand the business.
So Alan, you're on numerous boards. Share with us, if you could, what sort of things are discussed in that quarterly review in a little bit more detail.
Finance is part of the board process. The first thing we discuss in a board meeting is we revise the strategy. Then we discuss the finance, which I'll go through in more detail. Then we look at sales and marketing, operations and people. And obviously, we then look at what's going to happen in the future as well. But what do I do in finance? I make sure the 3 or the quarterly numbers have been entered and we produce the cash flow story report. We then go through chapter by chapter what's going on, and I'm looking at the trends. So I want to see, for example, in a business, you might have a red on your overheads. What's the implication? Your revenue has grown, for example, but your overheads are growing quicker. So I'm looking for anomalies, and I want to make sure that every single red that I see on cash flow story because Cash Flow Story produces a report that compares you to the previous period, and it's color coded red and green. So you need to answer, if it's a red, what are we going to do next period to turn it around?
Can you compare to the same time last year?
Yes, Cash Flow Story has got a feature whereby you can enter this quarter and compare it to last year the same time, and you can then produce a variance report.
In your quarterly reviews, do you do any forward-looking, any budgeting, any future type discussions?
With just budgeting, projections, mission critical. Companies love to do micro budgeting. Cash Flow Story starts one step earlier. Let's do a strategic projection and see what the business will look like. It's the most simple process in Cash Flow Story to do an annual or a quarterly projection. Before you touch a micro budget, make sure the high level looks right. So Cash Flow Story will do a profit and loss and balance sheet projection. You therefore understand the drivers of your business that need to be there to achieve the results that you need.
What other uses do companies have for Cash Flow Story?
We have been selling to business and banks, dealing with global banks. We understand the way business should look at their numbers, the 4 chapters: profit, working capital, other capital, resulting in funding and cash. Equally important are your financial institutions who are lending you money. If you borrow money, your banks are obsessed about Chapter 4, your cash flow, as measured by your ability to repay. If you give to your bank on a quarterly or an annual basis, depending on how frequently you report, your relationship with your bank will significantly improve. Every business that I work with, I make it compulsory to send to their bank a Cash Flow Story report, and then showing the bank the changes we're going to make to achieve our financial excellence. And Josh, people would say, don't tell the bank. My concept is, if it works for the bank, it works for you. The banks are obsessed about cash flow. So should you. Cash Flow Story will enable you to change, through the power of one, your 7 levers to achieve the right cash flow. If you make those changes, you'll have a happy business and a happy bank.
So Alan, obviously not every business is going to have you on their board. So if a business signs up for Cash Flow Story, how will they understand all of the numbers and how will they know what to do?
Just in the 2-3 years Cash Flow Story has been on the market, we are already in over 30 countries, and we've got 10,000 plus scorecards that are being created. Cash Flow Story has been created that it is so simple to implement. On every page in Cash Flow Story, there's either a story, you can click on an icon called the story, and it tells you what to look for, or we've embedded a video which explains every single key concept. What we've also done on the Cash Flow Story website, we've created 9 training videos which go through every single key concept. My philosophy is simple. Finance is not the domain of the financial controller. Finance is critical to every single person on your management team. Your marketing people are making price and volume changes. Your operational people are impacting your margins, your inventory, how frequently we bill. We've got to teach them using Cash Flow Story how to make better decisions, and where we are going to, what are, again, going back to the why. What we want to do is make finance something simple, that every person in the company understands the business in a consistent way. And instead of sitting at a board meeting where people say, let's discuss finance at the end, we're going to make this a topic that's actually exciting to discuss.
Thank you.